Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. This is another episode of the TopCats Era series celebrating 30 years of the TopCats. I'm your host, Jasmine Neely, and today I am joined by two amazing TopCats, Shannon McClattie and Tammy Tucci. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. So I first want to start out by asking both of you to give our audience a little background about who you are, when you dance as a top cat, and any experiences or achievements that you had when you were a top cat, and then maybe how life was like after you retired. So however you want to answer that. Why don't you go first, Tammy?
Okay. Well, I actually started with the squad. I was lucky to be one of the inaugural members of the team. Actually had a boyfriend who saw the ad. It was very tiny, this little tiny ad in the newspaper that said that they were going to have cheerleader tryouts for the team. We knew we were getting a team, so we were excited, but I didn't know anything about tryouts, and he brought it to me. That year, they decided not to hold them. And so that was the year that the team actually played at Clemson University instead of, which I would like to tell you some lore that it was originally, I am a Gamecock fan, alumni. And originally they were asked to play there, and Carolina turned them down. I think they were worried that it was some going to impact the attendance at the Carolina games, which seems crazy to me in my mind. But unfortunately, Clemson took them up on it. And in our first season, when the players would run out, there was a tiger paw on that field. And it was very sad to me because it could have been a gamecock, was all I could think. But not to be. So the first season, they actually had the games in Clemson, and then they did end up having the tryouts. So everybody who had called that number and basically said, I'm interested in being part of the tryouts, we were told that we would be called upon whenever they did finally hold them, and they did. So we auditioned, and I know there were over 400 people who auditioned. And I was lucky I got to be a member of that 35 member squad that year. So that was exciting. I actually had the luck of signing my paperwork with the Carolina Panthers on my 21st birthday. So no drinking for me, but I did sign my paperwork with them, and I cheered for 2 seasons. Then I graduated college and decided that I thought I should focus on that. Missed it and came back for the 2000 season when 9/11 actually occurred, which is one of the things that's really strong in my mind about that final season that I got to cheer. But yeah, I was happy to experience being on the first team, and it was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you about the 9/11 experience later on, but that's amazing that you loved it so much, being on the team, that you came back for more. And I can't wait to get more into some of those details.
Absolutely.
Shannon, what about you?
Okay, so my experience was I was living in the state of Georgia and decided I wanted to move. So it was either out of Jacksonville, Florida, Charlotte, or Atlanta. Atlanta being the last resort if I didn't like the others. And I decided to take a tour of Jacksonville, and I didn't like it. I loved that it was by the water, but I didn't like the city. It was pretty humid, and I just didn't like it. So at the time, a guy that I went to college with played for the Carolina Panthers, Tyrone Poole. And I reached out to him, and he said, oh, you would love it. You should come up and visit. And I did. And I came and visited, and I fell in love almost immediately. So in 1997, I found my job, my apartment, everything online with the total commitment that I'm moving to Charlotte. So in January, I found out I got the job. I did everything online. I moved here January the 28th, 1998. Started my job February the 6th, which I supervise a team. But now I supervise a team of forensic investigators and associates. So I started that job February 6th, 1998. Heard about the auditions on Power 98. And one thing I knew, if I couldn't do anything else, I could dance. And I moved here by myself. I didn't have any friends. So my goal was to go to auditions to meet friends. Got there, and just like Tammy, it was 300 to 400 people there. And we had to stand in line waiting to get in. And the first person I met, because I was like, oh my God, she was walking around, hello guys, glad you're here. Oh my God, you guys have a great time, was DeWanda Biddle. So I was like, there's no way she is that happy. So got in there, went through the entire process, and fortunate enough, on my very first try, I made the team. I, like Tammy, I was like, it's 300 to 400 people here, and you picked me. And at that time, we had a team of 35 as well. So I was completely honored. From that time, from 98 all the way to 2009, I spent 11 years on the team. And I think for that, I would have never stopped. So a rule was made after it was found out that I was getting ready to embark on an 11th year. And we signed paperwork that at that time you couldn't cheer for more than 10 years. But during that time frame, I was able and honored to serve as a captain for out of the 11 years, maybe 5. I never really wanted to be a captain. So my position was I wanted to be a good teammate. So, during the times like, we're voting for captains, please don't vote for me. And then finally, Tina Becker, who was an assistant and then our manager, said, they keep voting for you. What are you going to do? So I was like, I can do it. But and then I turned it down because I want other people to get an opportunity to do it. But in that time frame, I spent 5 years, I believe it was 5 years as a captain. I was selected TopCat of the Year in 2005. I was blessed to be a part of Super Bowl 38 team. I was selected TopCat of the Year after that in 2005 and went to the Pro Bowl after that, but was very fortunate to participate in another event where I was selected to be a part of the NFL Cheerleader Challenge on the NFL Network. So I did that as well. And the beautiful thing was the top prize was $10,000. And we found out, Mr. Richardson that said if we had won, we could have kept it.
And did it like for yourself?
Yes, for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Other teams had to give it back to the organization. So we went in like, we're getting ready to win this money. Unfortunately, I was injured and couldn't finish. After that was in 2006, I go back. I was a part of the original show team where we did our very first show in Eglin Air Force Base. We did one in Nova Scotia. We did a couple around different military bases. So I was blessed to be a part of that. After I retired in 2009, after 11 years, kind of made me sad, but I came back right after and spent 4 years as a field assistant and then double back around 3 years as the assistant and choreographer, which again, another blessing happened where I was able to choreograph the Super Bowl 50 in-game routines and co-choreograph Super Bowl 50 end zone.
Wow. Such amazing experience from both of you. I'm really curious, Shannon, you mentioned about the NFL Cheerleader Challenge. What did that entail? Does it still exist?
Can we find this somewhere on video? I need to know. I need to find this.
It was an amazing thing. So I, along with Misty Williams, was selected from the Carolina Panthers to go. Each team had 2 representatives, and it was a dance challenge. It was a fitness challenge. It was obstacle course races. It was Q&A. It was legit a reality show. We did some interviews. We did some dancing, and we participated in a canoe race. Well, we came in dead last. It was hilarious. We came in dead last. We competed in an obstacle course race where we beat the Bengals cheerleaders. And it was like a military style obstacle course race. We had to run underneath this thing, jump across these ropes, scale under these metal bars, climb over a wall, get down on the pad, run, swing across like a moat, and then run to the end. And everything was timed. So we beat the Bengals cheerleaders. And then after we raced against the No, I'm sorry. We beat the Colts cheerleaders. Then we had to race against the Bengals cheerleaders because the person that I competed against was the person I went to Pro Bowl with. So they were hyping that up. I had her beat as I got up to go across the wall, climbed up, came down. When I stepped down, I ruptured my Achilles tendon and didn't know. It did not hurt. It did not hurt because it was timed. And my thought process was we can still have a great time. I jumped up and finished the rest of the race hopping on one leg. So I hopped to the moat. I swung across on the moat, hopped all the way to the end.
Wow.
They were like, "Are you okay?" Misty made them stop filming, and of course they were still filming. She shot down the course on the side. "Are you okay?" We were so hyped. So she went and she won it. She beat them. So Chad Johnson was the host, and they were like, "Hey," they came up, "Do you want us to carry you off the field? You didn't carry me on here." No. So I did an entire interview with Chad Johnson hopping on one leg. So
Is this
again, wasn't it?
Ochocinco?
Yes.
Okay.
Was no pain. I got and sat down. They was like, "Can you move your foot?" And I couldn't. So I think something might be wrong. So we get to the hotel. Now, mind you, it's like an hour or so. We get to the hotel. I told Misty, "I'm going to call an ambulance and have them meet me out back. Please do not do the bells and whistles. I will meet you out there," because I didn't want them to know and put that on the show and make a mockery of the team. Didn't want that. So they met me. I went to the hospital, and that's when I found out that I ruptured my Achilles. Super disappointed. But we went back and we told the producers, and it was like, "Yeah, can we get you to talk about that?" Yes, on one condition, that you won't say we were disqualified or eliminated, that we had to leave due to injury. That was major for me because you didn't disqualify us. You didn't eliminate us. Had we not been injured, we'd have won this whole thing. And it was like, yes, we would do that. So we did that, came back, but afterwards, it was found that maybe 5 or 6 other girls were injured on the other events. So it was a one and done.
That was the only year they did it. That is
only year,
crazy.
2006.
That sounds like a really cool reality show, and
It
if
was
they could
great.
minimize the
great.
injuries, they should definitely bring it back.
I loved it. I had a ball. And I had a cousin who was a coach for an arena football team, the Augusta Stallions. And Bubba Diggs, who went to Clemson. Sorry.
You see, I'm about to do this.
He actually talked to his team, was like, "Let me just show you something. How something happened, but she didn't give up. She kept going. It wasn't, hey, I'm injured, let me lay here. I want you just to watch it." And when he showed it, and when I fell, y'all, I fell face first into the ground. And I wasn't hurt. I just jumped up and, I have to finish.
Yeah.
He showed it, that he finally said, "That's my cousin who cheers for the Carolina Panthers," who could have easily just laid there. "Hey, I'm a cheerleader and, I'm injured." But she got up and she finished. So he still talks about that to this day.
Wow. And who won? Who won the challenge?
I can't remember because it wasn't us. I was devastated. I want to say it may have been the Falcons. The Falcons or the Ravens, one of them, but I can't remember. But it wasn't just a win. Oh, they had first, second, and third. So the first was like 10,000. The second was like 5,000. The next was like 3,000. If you won if you placed, you were coming away with something.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's so cool. I've never heard of that before. That's so interesting. Definitely need to see some of those clips wherever they are.
And then you can go on YouTube. Ours isn't. I've been looking for ours, but ours isn't there. But yeah, some of the clips are there.
That's awesome. So I definitely want to get into, so we all know auditions are coming up, and by the time this comes out, we probably will be in the thick of auditions for TopCats. So I want to know y'all's experience during auditions. I know that both of you mentioned there was 400 women there, and I can't remember where it was. I talked to Leslie and Kimberly about this, but I want to know what your thought process was going into auditions, what you had to do, how your mindset was. Take me back to what those auditions were like. How did you prepare? Take me back there. Tammy, we'll start with you.
Well, I don't think I was When I looked back on what I did for auditions my first season, I laughed because, we were in Charlotte, so the honeybees existed, and there were definitely girls who knew how to try out for a professional cheerleading team, and I wasn't one of them. So I laughed because I went through that entire tryout for that season with not one sequin or glitter or anything like that. I tried out like a collegiate cheerleader because that's basically all I knew. And so I really look back at that and think it's kind of surprising that I even made it through, because the beginning tryouts, we were at the Winthrop auditorium. It was at their venue was where we started. And there were groups of, I believe there were 10 of us at a time. And it was just whatever music you got, you had to freestyle. And so I just remember looking at it and going, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, funny enough, I had just auditioned to try out and be on the dance team at Winthrop, because originally I was going to go to Winthrop. I did not end up, I ended up transferring to University of South Carolina because I changed my major, but I was going to go there. So I had auditioned for their dance team, and that was the dance that I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this to whatever 8 count they play for me. Well, I get this song, that song, You're Unbelievable. I don't know. It's,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really kind of slow. So at the beginning of it, I was like, no, this is going to be kind of difficult. But I have lots of hair now, but I had a bob. My hair was very short. And I honestly want to credit that as probably one of the reasons why I may have stuck out to somebody when there was a group of 10 people, and maybe caught their eye more and maybe got them to score me or pay more attention to me because my hair was so short. I really feel like that had a lot to do with how I made it through that first round, which was really hard. And I was there with a friend, and I remember she got cut at that point, and it was shocking to me that I had even made it through, because I saw like the honeybee folks, and they were really glamorous looking and they seemed very well prepared, and I didn't look anything like that. And I'm not even sure why I didn't finally cue in and do that eventually, because it was a really lengthy tryout. I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks long that we did it, because after that phase of tryout, we then learned routines and then had to do additional, I want to say there were 3 cuts in total. And it was interesting because when we had our final audition, it was in a high rise in Charlotte, because again, the stadium wasn't finished being built yet. And whenever we did it, our family was outside. So when they announced us, our family could hear it. So they got to hear when you got called, if you were one of the people that got called. So my mother and my boyfriend at the time were standing in the hallway and got to hear my name called right when I got to hear that I made the team. So it was very exciting for them to have that special experience in the way that that was that season. But yeah, it was, I still look back at it and just kind of chuckle, because I didn't look the glamour of a NFL cheerleader or an
Yeah.
NBA cheerleader for that matter, like some of them did. So I think it's my bob. I think I was lucky I had a short bobbed haircut, and that is kind of made me stand out a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know during the time that I auditioned, there was one of my teammates who came in and she had a bob as well. And immediately all of us that were already on the team that were vets, our attention went to her because the bob was like something
Hey,
different
it was bobbing.
and she was gorgeous. And we were like, this girl has the looks. Yeah, your hairstyle can definitely make you stand out for sure.
Definitely.
Shannon, how was your first audition experience?
I went in, okay, let me back up. I danced at an HBCU. So I wasn't scared of auditions at all. I said, if I can't do anything else, I can dance. I've never had any formal training whatsoever, but I'm one of those people, if you show it to me, I can do it. And so I had watched the cheerleaders before I moved, because I decided this is where I'm going to go. Let me check them out. I was nervous because I wasn't technical, but if they show it to me, I'm going to know how to do it. So I was in line, and my whole thought process was, Give them what you got. Don't worry about anything else. I didn't even tell my family I was auditioning. No one knew. So I was like, if I get cut, I don't have to explain anything to anyone.
Right.
And I was, again, here by myself. My family was in Georgia. I had not really made any friends because I'd only been here 2 months. And when I got in there, we had choreography that we had to learn. And Kim Pixton Horner or Kimberly, Kim Pixton was was our choreographer. And it was real cheer based. A lot of high B's and low B's and, so I was like, oh, clearly I can do this. But then we got to we had dance routines where we had full on toe touches down to our knee. So I'm like, wow, I've never done that, but I'm going to do it. So our audition, my first year was full of everything, toe touches, kicks, turns, everything. So I was like, Shannon, you got to keep up. And I talked to myself a lot during auditions and didn't interact with a lot of people because I kept saying, I'll make friends after this. Let me make this team. So for me, we had to take a full body picture. Recently, I found my application dated March 30th, mint condition, sent to Julie Roberts. And she sent me something back to say she got it. And I had all of that. So I was when I went in, I had no mindset but to make friends. If I made the squad, great. They said, you have to have a 2-piece, because I auditioned in a 1-piece, didn't know. You're going to have a 2-piece. So I went and got some 2-piece stuff. And the night of finals, I made it all the way to finals, still hadn't told anyone. They were like, I want to get some jazzy. I had somebody help me to figure out what I wanted to have, and I'll never forget a picture of it. It's white, because I love white. They had, like, band major shoulders and, like, fringe, but it was like a band outfit that was 2-piece. And all through auditions, and something about hair. All through auditions, I wore my hair straight. I had a little bit of a bang, and it was straight. So I wore it that way all through auditions. So my hair was straight, and the night of auditions, the night of finals, I was just so elated. I curled my hair up. It was voluptuous and big. And for many years, we had to go up and we had to answer a question. You had a football question and a regular question. And, I'm cheesing. Oh, I'm here. I made some friends. And my question I never forget one of them was, if you had to be an animal, what animal would you be? And then the other one was, what is the name of the station that our games are aired on? No, what is one of the affiliates for radio affiliates for the Carolina Panthers? And I answered the question saying I'd be a Panther, because with the Panthers, they don't have a loud growl. They don't make a lot of noise. But when they show up, you know that they're there. That is me. And then so I was like, I can answer a question. But then they were like, well, what is the radio station that's affiliated with the team? And I couldn't think of the call letters, but I knew what they say on the radio. I said, I don't know what the call letters are, but it's the big old hairy fox. That was right. So it wasn't what you said, it was how you said it. So that many, many, many years after finals, you didn't wait to get an email. You didn't wait to figure out if you made the squad. They announced it that night, which I loved. It was chaotic, but they called all the names, and we took our first team picture that night in whatever you had. So to your point with the hair, I was told that they really like the straight look. They really like that look. And I was told never wear the poodle look.
Wow.
So one thing I learned is that if they like your look, they want to tailor your TopCat image around that look. They may polish it up a little, but that's what they chose you for. And, if you want to change your look, you really need to speak with them, because then that could change the demographic of the team. Leslie said it best, maybe about 4 or 5 years in. She wanted to build a team that everybody can look out from the stands and relate to somebody on the field. Whether she's tall, she's short, she's black, she's white, Asian, Hispanic, long hair, short hair, blonde hair, red hair. So I really like that a lot because our squad represented so many different people, so many different cultures. And again, people on the outside looking in thinking, I could do that. They really could because I see somebody that looks like me. So I love that. All of my
Yeah.
audition experiences were great. I will say that.
Yeah. And I know you had a lot of them. So and shout out to Leslie, by the way. She's amazing.
Yes,
She's
Amazing.
she is.
fun. So Tammy, did you have dance experience coming into auditions?
I'm with Shannon. I had nothing, I had no true training in my life, but I was the same. If I could see it, I could learn it. And I just learned by watching other people. And I actually cheered in high school. I was lucky I had a co-ed team, but I joined cheerleading because I liked dance. Because if we had had a dance team, I would have done that. So I really loved cheer because of the dance aspect. When I was at University of South Carolina, I was on the dance team, and that's where I where my love was I loved
Mm.
performing, and I loved dancing, and I loved football, and still love football
Mhm.
with all my heart to this
Absolutely.
day. So yeah, that was the experience that I had was from learning it that way, but no, not any real training.
Yeah, that's amazing that both of you can just look at something and you can pick it up. And that makes me think about how you grew up and your childhood. Maybe talk a little bit about your childhood and how did you find that confidence to just go out and try something that maybe you didn't know what the outcome was going to be? Something like trying out for a NFL cheer team or just dancing in general.
Oh man, I don't know where that, I think that I was a firstborn type A personality kid. Definitely, even though I sort of could have my moments of being shy, which doesn't seem like that about my personality. But when I remember myself younger as a kid, I sort of remember not necessarily being the center of attention or being, so brave in that way. But I will say that I was never one, if I wanted to do something, I never was afraid to try it. I think mainly because I wasn't afraid to fail at it. Like,
Mm.
I didn't come from a family that had, like, I was the first one to go to college in my family. So, nobody in my family had really done these types of activities that I embarked on. Like, my mother didn't grow up doing any of that. So I don't know. She didn't necessarily push me towards it, but if I said I wanted to do it, she was like, okay. And we just kind of went into it like that. And it was just sort of like, we didn't know what to expect. Whatever happened, happened. And I just was blessed that I was able to do it and make things happen. Not to say that I haven't tried out for things and not made it, because I have, certainly. So, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was also my friends, when you get around friends and they're doing certain activities, hey, there's a cheerleading team in middle school, and you're like, okay, well, let's do it. Somebody says they want to do it, and you're just like, sure, let's do it. And we just kind of went in there and learned. None of us had ever done it before, but we just kind of did that, and that just kind of cheer became a part of life, and that's kind of how it happened. But yeah, definitely not in the background in my family, because I was the first to do any of those things.
Yeah. You are who you surround yourself with. That's
Yes.
very true. And that's
Yes.
peer pressure in a good way, I'll say. Awesome.
Well, I am the complete opposite. I grew up in a family that we did everything. We were showstoppers. I had a grandmother who did commercials for the United Way. My grandmother spoke for at the House of Banking and Finance because she had a loan from Fleet Finance for something she did on her roof. And what cost her like $5,000, she ended up paying like $30,000 back because she didn't know they were taking this money out. So she hired a lawyer, told them what she wanted to do, and they went to D.C. and spoke to the House of Bank and Finance. I was raised up. Listen, you have a voice. God has given you a talent that you will find what that talent is. And if he gave it to you, it will be a travesty not to use it. So I was raised like that. And my mom had no money. We didn't have a bunch of money growing up, but the way we learned to dance, and it's crazy, is Georgia Public Television. So shout out to GPTV. They would show ballet shows, and it would be ballerinas dancing, doing. So what my sister and I would do, we get in front of the television and do exactly what we saw them do. And then it graduated to, you're too young to know about the Electric Company and Zoom. Those were TV shows as well on public television. We would watch that and we would do those dances. So I learned picking up choreography was easy. You show it to me and I'm going to learn it. So I had a family that if you can see it, you can do it. My mom had worked a lot. My dad was more or less, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. So I cheered for 1 year in high school. And when they were like, hey, you're going to be a flyer, what does that mean? And then they told me, oh, I'm not flying in the air. What else is there? And they said, well, you can be a bass. Well, what is a bass? And they showed me, and I was like, I'm pretty sure my mother would not want somebody stepping on me. I did cheerleading for a year and decided I don't do that. So my high school marching band had a dance team. And again, dance. So I tried out, and my first year did not make it. I became the banner girl. And the banner girl was the girl that walked in front of the marching band, just marching, holding the banner. There was no way I was going to do that.
Yeah.
So I had to make the best of it. So as the banner girl, I started doing dance routines with the banner. Me and the girl, her name was Latrice. We would make up our own dance routine while we're marching. And it was like, my goodness, we were show stopping because we were in the front of the band. And it was us, the drum majors, then the dancers. But by the time you get to the dancers, you've already seen them. And I said, okay, I'm going to try it again, and then made it. Not only did I make it, I became a captain. Then I became a solo dancer. Then I did all of the choreography. And my high school was invited to the college that I ended up going to do the pregame show. Fort Valley State University. So Glen Hills was there, and that's my high school. And I was like, I'm at the school I'm going to go to. I showed out to the point where we went back in the stands and sat down. The dance team came to me and asked me, what school are you going to? Oh, I'm coming to this one. So they told me about auditions. I made my college dance team before I even graduated high school.
Wow.
I said, listen, do not play with me. And that led to, it built my self-confidence was always here. And it will forever be here. That's just how I am made. But from there, I choreographed an entire basketball show at a high school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas High School, where Michael Irvin went to. You know where that school?
We lived in South Florida for 5 years, and I have been there many times. Yes.
Yes, they invited me to come and do their basketball show with their dance team, and I did that just on the strength of I know a girl who you can bring down. And they brought me down. I stayed with some friends there and did that. And that's when I decided, you know what? I'm going to add dancing to my everyday lifestyle, my confidence. And I try to build people and bring them in because it doesn't play well if I'm the one that's up here and my teammates aren't. Mm-hmm. I made it a point of bringing them along with me because, again, they don't see one Shannon on the field. They see us all. And, again, I want us all to look the same. So whatever I could do to bring them in, extra practices, meeting them at their houses, we did a lot of that, a lot of it. And I didn't mind it, but, I'm nothing without the team. I'm not an individual dancer. I'm dancing with the team. So that became what my goal was, is for everybody to be on the same level.
Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. Also, you'd mentioned before, Shannon, that you were Top Cat for 11 years. And I want to stay on that for a little bit because I first off want to know how you made it 11 years with the amount the toll that being a top cat can take on your body. And
Yeah.
I want to know that first, but also what ultimately, kept you around so long too.
And the answer is really simple. It's no complex answer. I love dancing, but I love football just as much. I started watching football when I was 13, and one of my favorite players was Walker Payton. And I fell in love with him because not only was he prolific, he went to, and I'm a little girl, but he went to an HBCU. He was, soft, but when he got on the field, he was explosive. So I started watching football at 13, but I didn't I didn't have a favorite team. I had favorite players. And the more I got into it and learned the game, and that's one thing, I know the game of football, just like I know dancing. But the more I got into it and learned the game, again, I grew up in a family where my family will foster whatever it is I wanted to do. So there were times I didn't even have to go to church because football was on. My mom's like, she likes it like that. Let her stay home. So that's when I started to learn more about it. And for me, being a top cat, I had the two things that I loved the most. And my new favorite team, because again, I started following the Panthers a year before I came. So I had football and I had dancing. And I thought the heavens had parted and God's like, this is for you. So as long as I was able to do it, and as far as taxing on the body, that was never an issue for me. And I told one of the top cats here recently, we have a Pro Bowl dinner every year. And at the Pro Bowl dinner, we were talking, and they were like, yeah, I'm getting old. And, my last year, I'm 33. My last year cheering as a top cat, I was 40 years old.
Wow.
40 years old. And could still do it to this day. Only because if you have the passion and the love for it, everything else is secondary. But auditioning every year, something Shannon Pender, who cheered with me my rookie year, she would always say, and we said it for years, I said it all the way up to my 11th year, spot taken. And what that meant is, this spot is taken until I give it to you. So I'm going to give you everything I got to get my spot back because the spot is taken. Spot taken.
So you had to.
And I tell people all the time, and this is the crazy thing, a lot of people think when I audition and I make the team, I made it. I told somebody that I mentored on one of the more recent teams, you are forever auditioning. You make the team. Now they're trying to see, did we pick the right girl? Now they're trying to see, is she is she a good fit? Now they're trying to see, how does she bring what we need to the table? How can we give her what she needs to be explosive on the field? So the audition process never stops. So you cannot let your guard down because you think, oh, I'm here now. I'm going to take a break. There are no breaks. There are never any breaks. So I always kept that in my head that, I want to be a good teammate, but, I'm not going to do anything that's detrimental to me or to them.
Yeah. Awesome. Wow. That's incredible. I mean, you have your loves right beside each other. Might as well keep coming back. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you right? So that's incredible. I want to know from each of you what would you say what would you say your superpower is now, and then what was your superpower when you were a top cat?
Oh my goodness. Superpower. Oh my gosh. I can't even think what that. I don't know if I have a superpower, to be honest with you.
Everyone does.
Yep.
Everyone does.
I think that, you know, engaging with the people, like that's one of the things that's the most exciting about being a part of this organization, is the way that you get to engage and meet with the fans and be a part of the team. I mean, like, it's really hard to express the feeling of it, like what it feels like to be out there. And I always felt like really keyed into that, like when I got on that field and I looked out and I engaged with everybody in that performance. Or if you're just doing a promotion and you were meeting people, or lucky for us, you know, the ones of us that got to also do the suites whenever you would do the rotation. I know that's not a thing anymore, I understand, but that used to be a thing, and that was really neat to do that too. You got a lot of one-on-ones with fans when you did those types of things. But I think that that was just sort of the superpower of really being able to say, hey, you know, I engage with you. I get to meet everybody. And it just felt like you were all interconnected in this big thing when you were part of a game. I mean, there is something amazing and hard to express about what it feels like to be standing on that field with all those people in the stands and the roar of the crowd and the music, and just feeling part of this awesome organization. You know, it's so pride filled. I still feel that way to this day. It is one of the greatest accomplishments I would say I've ever had, and I still feel that way at this moment. Like when I start naming off the things that I'm super duper proud of, you know, obviously I'm, you know, a mother and I'm a wife and, you know, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, all the things that I'm super proud of. But I definitely point to this as one of the ones that I'm proud of it, and I'm protective of it. You know, I want to protect the image of the organization and all that we stand for. I think that's so important. We should guard it with all our heart. And I want people to know too that, you know, as Shannon, to her point about this is my spot, you know, that's reality of tryouts for being a member of the team. While no one can ever take away that you had been one, it's not guaranteed. And people need to understand how competitive it is and what a feat it is to have made it 11 seasons. I mean, like, that's a lot. It can happen. Every year that I went and I auditioned, I saw friends who had been on the team who didn't make it back again. That no way took away from what they had accomplished, but it does happen. So it just keeps you mindful to know, you know, it's competitive, and it's a quite an accomplishment to have ever gotten the opportunity to be a member of the team, and no one can ever take that away. Um, Superpower for now, oh my gosh. I'm a 50-year-old who is fully embracing that piece of myself. I'm sort of excited about this new juncture of my life. I don't know what I thought that was going to look like, but it's not quite as frightful. So I would say that you are only as, you know, old as you feel. And I definitely don't, I embrace, I don't lie about my age. I am 50, going to be 51 this year, and I'm thrilled, and I'm, you know, embracing it. There's still a lot of living to do, and I'm going to just keep doing it, and I'm never going to quit dancing no matter what.
Hey, I love that. And that's an accomplishment. A lot of people don't make it to 50 years old. So it's
Yeah.
an accomplishment to
That's
be
right.
able to grow older and, you know, see another year. And you
Yes.
also mentioned that you still dance. So do you dance like you take classes for fun? Are you kind of doing
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. That's
And that's what
amazing.
I want people to know, is there are classes out there and that you can still do dance. And
Hmm.
so, and it's funny because one of the places that I've taken around here, it's owned by a former Jacksonville Jaguars cheerleader, but that just happened to be. But it was funny because when I was in there taking class, she kind of finally was like, what's your background? Because we did a palm routine, and it kind of, it's like, I'm gonna show out a little bit here. And
As
she's
you
like, well, you
should.
sure did pick
Yes,
that up really
ma'am.
quick. And it was, you know, it was Welcome to the Jungle, and you know that's their thing. So I was like showing out, like, oh yeah, I love this. She said, those pom poms you brought tonight. Yeah, it seems like you have those. You're very used to those. I'm like, yeah, maybe.
I love that. Oh, I wish, yeah. I hope you're dancing well into however old you are. Also, by the way, both of you, I wouldn't have guessed that you were 50, Tammy.
Well, I
I
definitely
would have, I don't
am.
know what I would have thought, but 50 wasn't it. It was definitely lower. But
Bless
yeah, both of you look great. So I want to know those secrets too.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Shannon, what about you?
I was thinking about it. My superpower when I was on the team was the ability to bring folk together. I love having a good time. And I know sometimes at practice, it wasn't always a good time because you're focused on learning the routine. You don't want to mess up. You got the pressures of doing that. And you just a lot of us came in from a full-time job full of full-time responsibilities. Now we're coming into our part-time job with the same full-time responsibilities. So it was days it was trying, it was days it was great, it was days when it wasn't so great. For me to be able to make it great, I need everybody around me to feel that way. Vibing on one another and passing that good energy. That's me. That's me. And people are like, well, we appreciate you being that. Well, call it a little selfish because I do better when I'm able to, be in a good space, having a good time. So that was my superpower when I was on the team, pulling folks in. I laughed because I finally told somebody, so what do you listen to before you go out on the field? Because, I listened to one song before I did anything, and I did it for years. And it's old school, but it was I Go to Work by Kool Moe Dee. And the reason I listened to that is because part of the song says, you want to know my occupation? I get paid to rock the nation. So that was me. I get paid to do this. So I'm going to rock the nation. So I tried to bring that into me talking to my teammates. And again, I wouldn't do anything different. I wouldn't add or do this. I wouldn't do anything different because I gave 100% every time I walked in that door. Whether I had 100% in me didn't matter. I'm giving 100% because I chose to be there. I chose to audition. I'm thankful that they chose me, that nobody, was twisting my arm to be there. Nobody was twisting me to stay. So I listened to, when I went to Pro Bowl, I would hear other girls like, yeah, it was this happened, that happened. But here's the thing, you chose to stay. So with that being said, having that mindset, well, it's my choice to be here. I'm going to make the best of it. And that's what I did. My superpower was bringing it all in and us having a good time, even when the good time wasn't the thing to be. My superpower now is the exact same thing. The exact same thing. I need to make sure I got good energy and good people around me. My blessing to others is the blessing that I want to receive in return. So I'm very outspoken and I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but I'm never one to say it in anger or to be malice in any way. But I think for me and Tammy's point, as I get older, I understand things differently. And this year I'll be 58. So I look at every single day as a blessing, a true blessing. God put me here for a reason. And like I said earlier in the podcast, if God gave me this talent, it'll be it will be shameful not to use it. God gave me the ability to be a lot of things to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. It would be a travesty not to fully use that potential. And again, I cheered for 11 years and spent 4 years as field assistant, 3 years as assistant. You guys, that's 18 years working with a program I love. To this day, I truly love. And with that, being the person that I am, I'm able to still be on the field in yet another position that I equally love. And it's just full circle. I give out the energy that I want reciprocated.
Yeah.
Period.
Amazing. I love that. I wrote down something that you said. You said, my blessing to others is the blessing I expect to receive in return. So it's a reminder that you have to give, what you want somebody else to give to
Correct.
you. So it's such an
Correct.
important lesson.
And
Not that you just give to receive, but like
absolutely.
it's kind of like karma in a way.
It's
Yeah.
exactly like karma. It's exactly what it is. And what I did too, I know like with the squad, the newer squad, I'm on the sidelines, but I'm not as active. But one of the young ladies reached out to me and was like, yeah, I want to ask you some questions. And that turned into a full blown friendship. So I said, I want to mentor you. And again, I allow her to ask me anything, anything. And I told her, whatever you ask me, I'm going to give you the realest answer ever. May not be the answer you want to hear, but it's going to be the realest answer ever. And, offered some things to her. I was so proud of her and how she just completely changed her mindset. I love her because she is such a light. And I was blown away at something she did. And I'll just share this. Brandy. Brandy found out she was pregnant. She cheered as long as she could until she couldn't. Had her baby early. Decided to re-audition again, and she was like, "Shannon, what do you think? I think if you want to do it, let's do it. Let's prepare." That's what we did. We worked. She came to the gym with me at 5 in the morning. Something that a lot of people wouldn't do. We worked. Got her to where she wanted to be. She tried out and she made the team. Making the team, she became a captain. I'm just blown away by her. And I'm pouring into her. You stay positive. You stay in there. This is a blessing for you. Don't feel like, hey, somebody's giving me something. Nobody gave you anything. You work for it, whether you know it or not. You work for it. And when she was selected Top Cat of the Year and went to Pro Bowl, I got emotional because she went exactly 20 years after I went. I went in '05 and she went in '25. So crazier thing at Pro Bowl, she wore the same outfit I wore, my uniform. At Pro Bowl.
Oh.
I was a basket case, a basket case. I actually flew to Orlando to be there, and I watched her cheer and did some. They were able to come in the stands. We took pictures together. So you pour into people.
Yes.
And again, just as I said, Jasmine, the blessing you give is the blessing you wish to receive. My blessing to her, what I got from that is she accomplished everything and things she never thought she could accomplish. And I watched it all happen in real time. That was my blessing.
Yeah. It's an incredible story. And Brandy
Yeah.
will be on our podcast soon too. So I can't wait to talk to her about that as well.
Yeah, she's a great girl.
Incredible. Tammy, earlier you mentioned 9/11 was a pivotal moment when you were on the team. And when it happened, how did that time affect you? How did it affect the team that you were on and the Panthers organization from your perspective?
Yeah, obviously, one of the things that you'll always know where you were when that happened. And I remember it was interesting because they canceled all the NFL games. Everything got canceled, and it was like the world just took a pause and stopped. But I can very distinctly remember when we were going to take the field and we were back on again, the feeling of standing in that stadium and hearing the national anthem played. And I'll still get emotional about it because it does still make me cry. Just the very idea of what it felt like and to be an American. I remember we all were wearing our, flag pins and standing out there and understanding that there was something so much bigger than what we were doing that weekend and as a group, but it was still just very emotional to think about what had happened and how you were just going to be changed forever. You would just never feel the same about anything after that. It was the only time in my life that I ever felt afraid in my own country. I'd never felt that way before. And, I think that we'll never forget what that felt like. It was just really a strange feeling to go through that. But I think that it was, very embraced and everybody felt more united. I remember that too, as a country, what we looked like as a country and the way that we all came together. You couldn't find a stitch of anything with the American flag on it. You just couldn't buy it. It felt like every house was flying a flag, and it was just a different moment in time when that happened. But yeah, that's very distinct about my final season was when that occurred and everything just kind of stopped. And when we finally took the field back again, hearing it play, it just was a different feeling than it had ever been before in the past. It just meant a little bit more.
Yeah. And during the game, did you have any, do you remember anything else besides that the American or the national anthem being played? Did they win that game? Was there any, do you remember any like speeches or anything that happened before or after? Or was it just that moment when they were playing the national anthem that just, you were proud to
I
be an
want to
American?
say, I am trying to think about, I want to say that Jerry Richardson came in and spoke to us. I want to say that he spoke to us, which was not uncommon for him. He would come to practices. I loved how he was when we would visit the suites. That was one of the things that was the start of every visit was you would start in his suite, and you got to know all of his grandchildren and his family. That was very common, and we felt a really close relationship to him. So that for me, I just remember how many times he would come in and actually come speak to us. But I will have to remember, but for some reason that is in my mind that he came in to speak to us, maybe when we were getting the pins delivered to us, handed out for us to wear. Because I remember we wore them on our uniforms. Everybody got an American flag pin, but um, that is something I don't know. I was trying to wonder if we did. I remember thinking too, we'll probably never do a flyover again. I just remember thinking that, like, boy, everything is going to change. It's really not going to be the same, the things that make you more nervous. But you know, that's everything I remember about that time. I can remember after that 9/11, there was a game, and I want to say that I flew out after that game. It was the first time I had flown. And I remember I flew through the Charlotte airport, and I remember walking into the airport, and there were military with their rifles all pointed as you came through security as a
Wow.
warning, I guess, to say, don't anyone do anything strange, you'll get pulled out of the line. And I just remember feeling safe by that, but also feeling like, okay, because I traveled, that was part of my job. I traveled a lot. And so I was very used to flying, and that was very new. That was the first time I'd ever seen it. I try to explain to my children, which again says how old I am, about the evolution of the airport and how in the beginning you used to could just walk in, friends and family, all the way up to the gate. And people would be waiting for you without a ticket, mind you, just waiting for you to step off of the plane, and you don't disembark from a plane and see your family standing at your gate anymore. If you don't have a ticket, you don't get through to that level in the airport. But I said there was a time that you did, and it was very common. And you didn't, I remembered when you didn't have to take off your shoes and do things
Yeah.
like that. Some of those things are getting rolled back now. But yeah, that was the first time I saw those changes too, was just some of that, some of the stuff that changed. And we went through changes in our process of the stadium. That was when we started having to go through bag checks, and we didn't just roll into the stadium with your suitcase that had all of your things to get ready. You had to stop, and they had to check everything. And I
Wow.
remember us being nervous about it, and the security being so uncomfortable having to crawl through our unmentionables in our
Yeah.
bags. And they were sort of like, oh, everybody was not sure how this should go, and everyone felt uncomfortable, but everybody was just kind of like, we're following the rules,
Yeah.
what we're supposed to do. But now we've got clear bag policies and things like that that all came out of that. But prior to that, we didn't have any of that. You just rolled into the stadium with your bag like everything was fine.
Yeah.
And after that, you didn't do that anymore. There was just a different process and security level to get in and out, understandably. Because, it had to be safer. Everything had to be safer, because certainly a large stadium like that would be something that somebody might want to do something there. So it was being mindful about the process changes within within the stadium that we had to do immediately as soon as that happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's so sad nowadays if I go to the stadium and they don't check my bag thoroughly, or somebody that I'm with, I'm like, why didn't they check it like thoroughly? It's sad that we have to go through that, but sometimes I just wish it could go back to the time where you could just walk in and everyone could be trusted, but that's not the world we live in, unfortunately. But I do appreciate you sharing that and sharing from your perspective what that time was like. It was definitely an interesting time for everyone. And so I can only imagine being on the team, like how that must have felt, and probably even made you more proud to be a Top Cat as well as an American. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Shannon, I want you to tell me about the Super Bowl, your experience through Super Bowl 38, because not only did you go to the Super Bowl, but you went to the Pro Bowl in the same season, right? What a year that was for you.
No, crazy. I told the Pro Bowl story the other night, but Super Bowl, we played we didn't play as well as the 2015 team, but we played well. And it was happening so fast. And I remember, believe it or not, the NFC Championship game was played in Philadelphia against the Eagles. And we had to go to Philadelphia. So a bunch of us met at a TopCats house. Her name was Tasha Caldwell. We all met at her house. And we went down into her media room and we were watching it. And it was happening. And we were winning, and it was stressful. And then we weren't winning anymore. Then we were winning. And when the clock ticked down and we won, I'll never forget, I jumped up. Talisha jumped up. I stepped on her ankle. We were screaming and falling, and we all said, we can go to the stadium. So we drove like a convoy flying to the stadium. Y'all, we get there. It was hundreds and thousands of people already there. People all over. They had already roped up the parking lot on Moorhead. And so we're like, and my sister and my nephew were with me. So they stayed at the gate and I went over to the side and we bought our pom-poms. We weren't in any type of uniform, no, nothing. We out there cheering. The fans were crazy. People were in trees. People had got up on the Panthers, those big Panther statues. People were literally everywhere. And I just kept thinking, my God, my dream has come to fruition. I have loved football all my life. I'm going to be, well, we didn't know for a fact. I was like, I'm going to be going to the Super Bowl. And Les was like, we haven't gotten the official say if we're going. So either way, we're in the Super Bowl. So I'll never forget, and I still have that picture to this day. Coach Fox got off the bus. He was passing the darn NFC Championship trophy around and letting the fans rub all over it. It was so much. I was so emotional. My sister and my nephew came over. We have a group picture. It's me, my sister, my nephew, Pam. Was it Pam? I forget who it was. Rochelle. It was a bunch of us, and Ricky Manning Jr. He's standing there like this, and we're all standing like, we're going to go. We didn't find out until maybe a few days later that we were going. And the way it went was, okay, well, Les was like, well, we got news about the Super Bowl. We all like, okay, oh my God, what's going on? She said, we will be going. And we went crazy.
Wow.
Getting there was amazing. The first Super Bowl, when we arrived, we landed in this big field, like this big area. They had because it was in Texas. We played at Reliance Stadium in Houston. Y'all, they had a marching band. They had people there to greet us. I felt like a champion. I felt like a queen. It was so amazing. It was great. We get there and we made a pact that we were there with the Patriots cheerleaders. We will not walk behind anyone. We're going to walk ahead of someone because the Patriots cheerleaders had been there before. We had never been there. It was like, oh, we're going to enjoy this experience. I honestly, every appearance we did, everything we did was 100%. Everything we did. We had a lot of appearances. Tina got a call from an artist who wanted us to dance with him. And Tina was trying to make that work. but he wanted us to wear something else other than our uniform. She was like, we're not wearing the uniforms. We're not doing it.
Mm.
And so we didn't get to do that. But the fact that we were even asked was crazy.
Who was the artist? Can you say?
I can,
I know,
but
I'm dying. I'm like, who is
It's okay.
it?
I can, but he's not popular right now. He
That's
really
okay.
isn't popular right now.
Oh, I got you. Oh, I hear what you're saying.
Okay.
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 Yes.
Mhm.
So, but he was extremely popular then, and we were crazy. But then we were on the sidelines, and again, it's 35 of us dancing tight on the sidelines. That was the Super Bowl. Beyonce sang the national anthem.
Mm.
We saw this in real time. Tina kept looking at me and saying, I was so emotional I was crying. I have a picture of me and Sarah Bell crying on the sidelines. We had to stand in a straight line. Right in front of us walks Aerosmith. I look dead at Tina. I'm crying at this point. Beyonce, Aerosmith, and we had the most infamous halftime show ever. Included Jessica Simpson, Sean Puffy Combs, Nelly, Justin Timberlake, and Janet Jackson. That was our Super Bowl. But get this, they were like, okay, Super Bowl, halftime, we're going to have to go inside. We weren't moving anywhere. We're not going anywhere. 35 of us, Woody, one of our photographers, took a picture of us. 35 of us were in like a box, and we hanging on to each other, and we're watching. He took a picture of the moment, and I wish I had it, where Sean Puffy Combs came up on the side where we were standing, screaming and yelling. He had on a white chinchilla coat. He pulled his coat off and had a Julius Peppers jersey on. We were screaming. Wow. He caught that moment. All of us, our mouth is open. It was so amazing. And we played. It came down to 3 points. We played. During that game, we were dancing so hard, smiling with 150 teeth. I never forget, this happened. Rochelle was dancing, and we had this one move where we punch and we would jump around. We were so tight. She punched and went around and hit Kathy Lee in the nose. Kathy Lee's nose started bleeding on the sideline. Leslie trying to doctor her up, and she was like, let's go to the locker room. Kathy was like, so she got wiped up and went right back out. It was just like that. And I remember when the clock ticked down, we were devastated. And Leslie did something that was remembered when I went to Pro Bowl. So it's a segue to the Pro Bowl. We went back to the locker room. All I remember is hearing our boots clacking on the cement as we walked back. And the sound it made, we were all silent. People was, sniffing because we were crying. We get in there and we just lost it, crying. Leslie said, we are a class act. And when the Patriot cheerleaders get in here, we're going to congratulate them. She said, we all are congratulating them. So you guys fix your face and be ready when they come in. And we all were in the same locker room. The only thing that divided us was black piping drape.
Oh.
So we were there. We were silent. Everybody was packing up their things. We hear them running in, screaming and yelling. We just moved the piping drape and came over and scared them to death and congratulated them. Was congratulations, blah, blah. And it tore everything in my soul. It took everything in my soul to do that. But I understand why it needed to be done. That's a direct reflection of who we are. So the next year I got selected for Pro Bowl. My roommate was Allison Preston, cheerleader for the New England Patriots, who was at the Super Bowl. So she told the story about how the Carolina Panthers cheerleaders, and I'm like, came over to congratulate us. We had never had that happen before. And it scared us when they came through the curtain because we didn't know what to expect. And they congratulated us. And my director said, that was a class act. They did it. Even when they won, they went over to check on the other team. And they said that's something they started. And it was because of us. So, and then Super Bowl 50 was completely different. They landed us in this big field. We got off, we got our stuff together, and it wasn't, I guess because I've been there, it wasn't, the first one was like amazing, but it was completely amazing. We had appearances. Rochelle and I kind of divvied up the girls. I would take some to appearances here. She would take it. We were all over the place in San Francisco. All over the place. And I just remember it was so fast paced, and we had to get the girls where they had to be, appearances. We had appearances away from there, and we were teaching dance routines and cheerleading routines to kids, and it was just a lot. But when we did the pep rap, how we had, I think it was 28 girls here. 28 girls danced on the stage at one time. And what we did was a show that we had already done for pregame with the introduction of all the cheerleaders. And they all got a chance to do their own little thing. We did that. And everybody thought that that was the best thing they had ever seen. And we did the voiceover. We used the same voiceover. We didn't change anything. But the girls, they did a kick line. So we had to divide them up into two. So it's two kick lines going at the same time. It was just phenomenal. Phenomenal. And everybody got to get a look at the girls because they'll walk up and be like, Tammy, you got to do your thing. Jasmine, you got to do your thing. And then it talked about TopCats represent both Carolinas and blah, 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 and gave a little scenario about what we do and how we were formed. And there's like, it's under the direction of manager Rochelle Williams and assistant Shannon McClattie. And for me to hear, oh God, I'm at the Super Bowl again and I'm hearing my name. It was amazing. And when we played the game, and again, another infamous game where they say Cam didn't fall on the ball. It was so much going on. I didn't see it. I was on the sidelines because, again, we had either side, but didn't see that. But when the clock ticked down and the Broncos had won, I remember walking back. The ticker tape was so thick we could not see going back, but we had to stop because the players were running in front of us, our players. And I remember seeing Luke Kuechly's face. And that I broke down after seeing him. But that game itself was just equally as emotional. We had, I think, the baddest end zone routine because we chose a song where it's like, we're going to push the envelope because, again, we're here. And it was, I got a really big team and we got some really big rings.
I know what it was.
So
I loved that routine, by the way.
That routine, we put together and we kept saying, we're going to need to do something to show stop. And the routine itself, my choreography is fast. I love fast choreography and I like a lot of hair tossing and a lot of ripples. Because Tina, who I adore, Tina Becker, I know Tammy knows her. Jasmine, if you ever get to meet her, she is, outside of Leslie, my number 2. I loved her. But Tina was like, when I became the assistant in doing choreography, she said, keep in mind, you entertain the masses. So your choreography needs to not just resonate with the people that's sitting up front, but the people in the 500 level, they pay their money just like the people up front. So she said, up there, what do they see? They'll see the hair tossing, they'll see the ripples, they'll see formation changes. So we need to have that. The people up front will see the quick movement. So we had to cater to both. So my choreography was fast, but it included quick movement, big choreography. I love kick lines, but I like kick lines with a twist. So again, we performed to the masses. And when we took that choreography to the Super Bowl, they were like, what's this? And the way we ended the Super Bowl end zone routine, it was like, and we had a mix. And I need the really big team, really big team, really big team, really big team, really, 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 really bam. So the choreography was just that fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you flip and everybody fell at the same time. Just when the music stopped. I have a video of it. You couldn't hear. It was so many people screaming.
Really?
Oh my God. You can barely hear. But the routine was great. And again, we took to San Francisco everything. And we left it all on the field. So I think, with the performance even though we didn't win, I think everybody had an amazing time and know that we did everything we set out to do. And again, Beyonce was at this Super Bowl. How
There you
crazy. She
go.
sang the national anthem, and her and Bruno Mars did the halftime, which we weren't allowed to see, but they did the halftime.
That's incredible. Oh my gosh. Our time is coming, y'all. Our time we go to the Super Bowl, we're gonna win it. Third time's a charm.
I know three's my lucky number, so I.
Look, yes, we're gonna next time we go, it's gonna be a dub. But no, thanks for sharing. That's an incredible story. And the fact that Beyonce was there twice, I love Beyonce, just
And
personally.
she was there twice. Twice.
I did not know she was there the first time, but yes.
Yep, she sang the national anthem. And she was so little. I mean,
like, that's
huh?
unbelievable. I
Yeah.
didn't realize that at both. Okay, so I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
Yep.
That's so cool.
And one thing we did when we went to the first Super Bowl, Chris Jenkins was a part of the team. And when we made it to the Super Bowl, Chris was singing the song, "We're going to the ship. We're going to the ship." And we started singing it. So at Super Bowl 50, we were on the bus. I said, "Y'all know what we're doing?" It was like, "What?" "We're going to the ship. We're going to the ship." So, I mean, stuff like that. I said, we got to bring this energy. And I remember riding on the bus to the Super Bowl and seeing like the Broncos and the Panthers. It was just, you guys, the whole energy at both is, I wouldn't be able to really put it into exact words. But as I get older, that's stories I can share with everyone because a little girl who started watching football at 13, who knew that she loved football and she loved dancing. If I had even dreamt that at 13, moving on up, I would be her doing that very thing, who could have known? Who could have known? That's why I said, I believe you put things in the atmosphere that you want back. I knew I loved those two things, and God blessed me to do them both. How was that? How am I her? Should that
Hmm.
happen to me?
Yeah. You gotta
You are
manifest it.
her, Shannon. You are
Yes.
her.
And then I went to 2 Super Bowls. I was like, how do you do that? And I was watching it on TV.
That's incredible. Such an amazing story. Wow. Both of you ladies, like I said earlier, look so good. So I want your best advice for women who want to look and feel their best, especially as they are preparing for auditions, and maybe not even if they're preparing for auditions, just in general. There's so many things out here, social media, us comparing ourselves against one another, and even in auditions, the pressure to, look at somebody and compare yourself to them, that happens all the time. What's your best advice for looking and feeling your best?
Definitely you've got to just do what feels good for you. You can't embrace somebody else's look. And I think that that's super important is feeling good in your own skin. And I think that's different for every woman. Some people are very muscular and that is how they feel comfortable. I would also say that you're going to have, as a woman in my 50s, I have seen evolutions of my body through the years. And I want to say to everybody too, hey, you may not be in every phase of your life in that physique, like, because that's a hard thing. Like, I used to look back at, 21-year-old Tammy's body and want to try to be 40-year-old and 21-year-old Tammy's body. And that really wasn't going to work anymore for me. But I think that you have to evolve and you will evolve and you'll have phases in your life where that happens. But I think, just continuing to try to stay physical, stay active. You're never too old. Somebody said to me, because I was trying to get back into running again, because I really enjoy it once I get back into it. And I'm like, oh, I'm just having a hard time at it. And they said, well, you can walk twice as long or you can start to jog, you'll get there. And that's true, just baby steps. But you have muscle memory and your body will get back to it. But when when I'm doing those things, I feel good. And I think that's really important is to just take care of yourself. don't forget about yourself. Don't lose yourself. That happens sometimes too.
Mhm.
With women, we have those moments where we get very busy with being caretakers of everybody else. And remember, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So you better remember to take care of mama. And so I think that's important. And I think I feel better whenever I'm in that state. So I've always come back to it. And it's weird. It's like, it's something that you get used to as you are doing these types of athletic things, and it becomes a part of your life. And when you return, when you get away from it, you miss it. And when you return to it, your muscle memory just jumps right back and you kind of think, man, this was what I was missing. And I think that, you know, you stay strong and you feel good, you look good. So I think that's something to just remember, that, you know, you're going to evolve. It may not be the exact same throughout every moment of your life, but there's still that part of it and you never lose that. So yeah, definitely continue to embrace it. And you can always dance. I don't care what size you are. You can keep dancing. So no one should ever stop doing that.
Yeah,
No matter what, just keep that in mind. Always dance.
absolutely. What about like your skincare? Like, do you have any secrets for like skincare routines or anything? Or
I'm a sun worshiper and I hate to admit that, but that's why I'm a Hawaiian girly and that's just who I am. And I need to be um, in the sun. It makes me a happy person. But I would definitely say I have to remember that I can still tan while wearing sunscreen. And even though I don't really need very much of that, I have to remind myself that I should put it on and be mindful to reflect that for my family so that they know that they should do it too. But, you know, I think water, you know, that sounds crazy, but water is important. Also, wine, you know, I think wine's important.
that is true, Tammy.
And wine, you know. So yeah, I like both of those things, but definitely, you know, I'm also a fan of whatever women want to do. If a woman wants to go have things done and that makes them feel good, then I think that's okay. And I think, you know, people like to tell everybody else what to do. I don't like to do that. I just say you embrace what feels good for you. If you feel good about it, then that's okay. You don't have to have it, but if you want it, I don't mind. I don't see a thing. It's like coloring your hair. I got extensions in mine recently. Yeah, I'm liking the
They look
length
good.
again. So, you know, that's what made me feel good. So that's what I did.
Hey, amen to that. Shannon, what do you do to look and feel your best?
Me, I will never be defined by the expectations of age. I understand everybody has a different journey as it relates to getting older, and I take nothing away from anyone. As long as you're doing the things that you want to do, like to do, and still are able to do, I'm 100% on board. For me, I'm a different breed. I tell people often, I fight age with everything I got. And I embarked on another endeavor where I am a NPC bikini bodybuilder. I did my very first show at 50, and to see how I can transform and change my body back to better than when I was a top cat is amazing to me. So I think in order for me to feel youthful, stay in shape, I have to set little goals for myself. Realistic, small, obtainable goals. And what that is, I get up every morning at 5 a.m. and I'm in the gym. I am learning to build more muscle mass. I'm learning how to do those things, but also stay lean. I'm also, learning to manage my weight because I am, again, I'm older, so I'm in full menopause. So I do understand that I am older, and I don't shy away from it like Tammy. I don't, I love telling people my age because there are people that never made it to my age. So I love telling them that. But then they wonder, how are you still able to do these things? I bench press, I live, I do all of that. And I do it because I can, because God has granted me the ability to still be able to walk, talk, move. And again, I take full advantage of that. I know what my limitations are, but I eat clean. I don't drink. I drink plenty of water. For my skin, I'm very particular about my skin because I don't want lines, marks, and wrinkles. I don't. I know it's going to eventually happen, but again, I'm fighting it with everything I have. What I like to use is I use a body scrub all over, exfoliating my skin every single day. People are like, you do that? I absolutely do. I scrub every single day. What I also do is I use an exfoliator, Clearasil, in the bath, in the shower every morning. Bigger than that, I moisturize, Lord. I am putting layers of oil on my skin on a regular basis. I like using Equate baby gel. It is the same as Johnson and Johnson baby. I am greasing up. And the reason for that is you want your skin to stay as pliable as possible. It can't do that if there is no moisture. There's no oil in it. I don't put oil on my face, but I do use retinol and collagen on my face. And what I don't do during the day, I never touch my face with my hands during the day. People are like, oh, I'm rubbing my eyes and I don't do that because the oils on your fingertips and the dirt that you carry is now on your face. And that's how people get a lot of breakouts and a lot of things because you're touching your face. So and I learned that from my grandmother. You don't touch your face. You don't, you're touching crazy things. You're touching your dog. You're touching this. You can't. And if you do, just know it will be a product of your face will represent you. That's your calling card. That needs to be on point. And I learned from my grandmother. You never leave the house looking like you're not trying to leave the house. My grandmother used to say, you put a little lip rouge on. And I don't do that, but I keep those things in mind. You don't go anywhere with your hair tied down. If you can't fix your hair, then you put on a hat or you pull it back or you don't go. My grandmother was one of those, you're a representative of our family. And I don't want anybody to see you out and say, hey, that's Miss Diggs' daughter. That's Miss Diggs' granddaughter. So again, I do what I've learned to do. My grandmother did it. My mom did it. My family has impeccable skin. And that's something you work on. And for younger women, you start now. You start right now and develop a routine. Figure out the products that work for you. You don't have to break the bank on products. Figure out what works for you. Figure out what, will help the skin to grow, will help you to grow, help you to be the body size you want. Not everybody wants to be lean and thin, but be what's comfortable for you. But it's not going to happen overnight, and you got to work at it. It's not something you wake up and bam, I have the body I want. You got to work at it, and it has to be intentional. Everything has to be intentional. I never want to get up at 4:00 in the morning to go to the gym at 5. I don't. But I know I have goals that I will obtain because I'm not a quitter. I need to do that. For me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're such an icon. I did want to get to one or two questions from our audience that they submitted previously, and they want to know from you a couple things for auditions. The first question is, what is your best memory retention tip when it comes to picking up choreography?
Yeah, I'm thinking, for me, it's trying to not panic. I think that one of the best things to do is to sort of still yourself and get calm and get it, a general overview of what's happening in the routine. You can polish it after you get it kind of on your body, but just not panic. I am actually a left-handed person. So for me, it's almost this added angst because I have a tendency to want to look at something and do it the opposite of what they're doing. But what I try to do is be calm and allow myself to get the general basics and not try to break down every single move right as I'm learning it. Because if I do that, I'm so focused on that one little nuance of this, like, okay, where exactly is your hand right here? That you can fix that afterwards, but you've got to get enough of it so that you can go and practice it. And because usually when we learn routines, it's something that we're going to learn during auditions and then have some time to rehearse it and practice it and practice it. And so getting it, the basics of it on your body and then cleaning it and perfecting it is what you can do after the fact, because sometimes that's what they would look at is they would try to give us something and then see how fast we could put it up, not polished, but just be like, okay, how fast could they get it? And
Hmm.
don't panic, because I know for everybody, some dance styles they can pick up faster. Like for me, I'm definitely a more of a palm background, but people who are more trained dancers, some dance moves that are, you know, more kind of not specific placement, if you will, for arms and hands, that feels natural and they can just sort of pick that up really fast. And that would always fluster me a little bit. But if I stayed calm and just kind of let myself get the general overview and then perfect it after the fact, I would do better, because, the moment that I panicked, I would not be able. And
Yeah.
one thing I will say is everyone around you, I've never had an experience in any of my tryouts where if you didn't get something, that somebody around you wouldn't, if you were like, where's the hand on this part or whatever, that they wouldn't be like, oh, it's right here, blah, blah, blah. And I would do the same. Like, offer up help to other people around you. If you see someone struggling and you know what it is, just let them know. I know you're competing with each other, but it also is a better experience in case there's something you need clarity on. They're likely to help you too if you're helpful to them. And I would suggest that you kind of go at it that way.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially when you're picking up choreography, not trying to think about every single detail right then and there, just getting the basics down. That's super important. Shannon, what
Well,
about you?
for me, is real basic. I take a notebook with me and I write everything down. So people are like, well, how do you write it down? I name it what I want to call it. So if, say, for instance, we do some up, up, down, down, out, out, it would be 8 count, first 8 count, arms up to the left, arms up to the right, arms down to the left, arms down to the right, then shake. I would write all this down.
Mm.
And so once I would leave, I would record myself talking it out the way that I wrote it. Up, down, down, shake to the right, shake to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I would slow it down in my mind. And when I wrote it down, and if I'm practicing, wait a minute, what is the move after that? I can read it. So I don't rely on somebody to tell me, because again, somebody else may have learned it a different way. I want to do it this way. So when I get back in front of the choreographers, I can clean up my own stuff, because I can always mark out what I wrote down on the paper for something else. But I was a stickler for writing everything down, slowing it down also, so that I've never liked sloppy arms, if that makes sense. So if it's supposed to be fully extended, I want to slow it down so I can feel it on my body when I extend it, when I move to the next piece of choreography. If I can see it, I can do it. So while I'm doing it, I'm visualizing what I saw when I recorded it, or visualizing what I saw I look like in the mirror. And that's how it's not rocket science. That was me. I would write it down, I would visualize it in my head, and that's how I learned it. That's
Hmm.
exactly how I learned it.
How did
And I will
you
make up little names for it.
did you write it down after you were learning or like in
Sometimes I
the moment?
wrote it during. Sometimes I wrote it during. So if we're learning choreography, and if we're learning like the first 5, 8 counts, and we take a break, I'm there over there writing it all out and doing it in my head. Right. So I would do it in the moment, so that
Wow.
I wouldn't forget. And I would literally keep a notebook with back in the day when we came in for TopCat meetings, we had these binders, and it started there. And I would put papers in my binder and write stuff out. Then I started bringing notebooks, but I would write everything down. And then I would see myself doing it, but I would never do it fast because I need to see what I look like doing it. So when
Mm,
it came time to do it to the tempo, I already know what I look like. So it's
yeah.
just a matter of me doing it and then I can put my spin on it once I know what I'm doing. But it goes back to something I said before. You have to be intentional. I intentionally wrote everything down so that I can, refer back to it later. My mom had a saying, if you write it down, it doesn't have to live in your head.
Mm,
You can save that space for something else. So you write it down.
yep. I've also heard that when you write stuff down, you're more likely to remember it. And like, especially goals, if you write down goals, you're more likely to achieve them. So like taking actual pen to paper is something, it does something with your mind where you can
Yep.
achieve it more
And
likely.
you can see it. You can remember what you have. Right now, I have affirmations on my refrigerator. But because I see that, I go in the refrigerator, I see it every morning. And it's like, it's muscle memory. You see it in your mind, you can remember it, you know what it says because you see it on your refrigerator in your head. Same thing applies to dance.
Yeah.
Same thing applies to dance.
Wow. I've never heard that one before, writing something
Yeah.
down. I think that's a great tip as well. So writing things down, ladies, and staying calm, I think those are two great things to think about when you're learning choreography. Last thing I want to ask you both is what is your best overall audition advice heading into this next round of auditions? If you had to think of one thing that you could tell somebody and they're thinking if they're going right out to audition in front of the judges, what's that one thing that you would tell them?
I would say to stretch themselves. I mean, stretch yourself in preparation leading up to that. What you don't want to do is get yourself hurt when you're doing something that you've tried so hard. And when you're nervous and excited, you might find yourself throwing something that you didn't stretch for. So if you know you've set a goal, I'm going to come here and do this tryout, get yourself good and stretched so that you can go in there and perform whatever it is that they show to you. If that particular team, for us, I know we share a lot of information. We give clinics and opportunities. That didn't happen. That didn't exist when I was trying out for Top Cats, but it does now. And heck, take advantage of it. If there is something where you can go learn a clinic, anything that you can go and participate in to make yourself feel more comfortable, more prepared. Some teams will put on there and say, here's the basic moves. The Buccaneers make me think of one. They show you the basic moves and they not only name it, they show somebody doing it of what they love to put in their choreography and they go ahead and give you a shot at, hey, nail that before you get here. We're going to probably put it in the
Do.
routine.
I've seen that. They do.
So, as much information as you can get to feel comfortable. Obviously, we've had previous tryouts where people have, we've got it on YouTube. Go look and
Mhm.
see what it looks like so that you can just get as comfortable as possible. Because I know for some people, it's the unknown that is the most frightening to them. And if you walk in feeling like, okay, I know what I'm in for, then you're going to be good and feel ready to go.
Amazing advice.
Yeah. I think mine is more mental. You showed up, and that's half the battle. If you made it all the way to the front door of whatever team you're auditioning for, that's half the battle. Once you step your foot inside the door, you are one step closer to your dream. I understand there are people sitting at home wishing they could have done just that small aspect of what you just did. Preparation to get there, you're going to prepare to get there. You're going to ask questions. I think your nerves will determine whether you go or not.
Mm,
Getting there is half the battle. Show up. Show up. Be focused, be intentional, and be ready.
amazing. With that, ladies, Tammy, Shannon, thank you so much for joining this podcast series. This was incredible. And I know that there are some hopefuls out there that are going to get so much out of this going into audition season, and just former Top Cats and current Top Cats that will listen to this and be like, wow, I never knew that happened. And that's such a great story, such great advice. So thank you so much for joining. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, and for teaching us what to do for a podcast, because this was my first one and I had no idea, but you made it easy. So
You
thank you.
did. Thank you.
Yes, y'all did great. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Taking the time to listen while you're busy with all of life's responsibilities means the world to me. If you enjoyed this episode, here are a few ways you can support ICP. Number 1, hit the subscribe button so you always get newly released episodes and never miss them. Number 2, take a screenshot of the episode you listened to and tag at the professional cheerleader on Instagram. I love to repost your tags and shout you out on stories. And number 3, write a review on Apple Podcasts. This is the best way to show your support for the podcast and helps bring us even more guests, interviews, and topics. I hope you have a wonderful day and continue to work towards your goals of becoming a professional cheerleader, dancer, or someone who just loves to move, honey. I'll see you next time on another episode of the Imperfect Cheerleader podcast. Bye for now.